best message you can send is absolute silence. What if I told you that disappearing without explanation can shake someone's soul more than 1,000 arguments ever could? And what if I told you that walking away in quiet strength isn't weakness, it's one of the most powerful moves you'll ever make? Let me paint you a picture. You've poured everything into this person. Your time, your energy, your loyalty. At first, maybe they cherished it, but over time, they began to treat your devotion as an entitlement. Instead of seeing your love as a gift, they began to assume it would always be there. They stopped appreciating you, stopped valuing your presence, and instead started to take you for granted. And you felt stuck. You argued, you explained, you begged them to recognize your worth. You tried to show them through words, through logic, through pleading, but nothing changed. The cycle repeated itself, leaving you drained, unheard, invisible. Now imagine this. One day, you stop fighting, you stop arguing, you stop trying to prove yourself. Instead, you make a decision, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of discipline and clarity. You choose silence. No warnings, no long explanations, no dramatic goodbye. You simply vanish. You remove yourself completely. And suddenly, the person who thought they could mistreat you with no consequences finds themselves sitting in an empty space where you used to be. They don't hear your voice. They don't see your messages. They can't reach you. And that silence, it's deafening. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The absence of your presence is often more powerful than any words you could ever speak. Because when you remove yourself, you don't just leave, you create a void. And in that void, they're left with only themselves, their conscience, and their regret. That's when the questions start haunting them. Where did they go? Did I do something wrong? Why does it feel so empty without them here? Silence doesn't just make them miss you. Silence forces them to confront the reality of losing you. And this isn't just about cutting someone off. It's not about being petty or playing childish games. This is about strategy, about self-mastery, about reclaiming your power. It's a calculated act, disciplined, deliberate, and deeply rooted in philosophy as old as time. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic emperors, once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In this context, being one means refusing to waste your energy in endless chaos. It means you don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to argue to prove your worth. Instead, you step back. You choose silence. And you let your absence carry the weight of the message. Welcome to the Stoic Art of Living, the place where we merge the timeless wisdom of Stoicism with the sharp, strategic insights of psychology. This is where we help you transform not only your mindset, but your entire way of living. In today's video, we're exploring the art and the power of ghosting, but not the immature kind, not the kind born out of fear or pettiness. We're talking about ghosting as an intentional act in a disciplined tool for reclaiming your energy, demanding respect, and elevating yourself above the noise. We call it Ghost Them and Watch. The scarcity principle deep dive. Here's why this works. People only truly realize the value of something when it's gone. That's the psychological principle of scarcity. When something is rare, when it's no longer available on demand, it suddenly becomes desirable, precious, unforgettable. So when you disappear, when you walk away without fuss, you don't just leave. You transform yourself into a rarity, into something they can no longer reach, no longer control, no longer take for granted. And here's the catch. This only works if you have the self-control to walk away and stay gone. That's where the real power lies, because anyone can storm out in anger, but very few can walk away in silence with calm discipline and never look back. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it unforgettable. Promise of what's ahead. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you on a journey together. We'll break down why silence can be more powerful than confrontation, how absence triggers emotions like regret, longing, and even respect, and how you can use this strategy not just to teach someone a lesson, but to grow stronger within yourself, to rise into the version of you that no one can afford to lose. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. Are you ready to shift the way you see yourself? Are you ready to stop being the person taken for granted and start being the one whose absence commands respect? If so, stay with me. Don't click away, because the principles you're about to hear may change the way you approach every relationship, every boundary, and every ounce of your personal power. We've just seen how stepping back and embracing silence can reclaim your power. Now, let's take that idea deeper. Because silence is not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of strength, claiming your power. Before we dive further, I want you to participate in this moment. Scroll down right now and type in the comments, "My silence is my power." Don't just watch, declare it, claim it. Because the act of writing those words is your first step toward reclaiming your time, your energy, and your self-respect. And if you're truly ready to master the art of detachment, to rise above drama and become untouchable, hit that like button. This is not just support for the channel, it's a personal declaration. You are done being controlled by noise, and you are stepping into control of yourself. Lesson 1. Why absence speaks louder than words. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is a deliberate, calculated message. And here's the beauty of it. Silence doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It doesn't beg to be understood. Silence simply exists. And because it exists with calm strength, it becomes impossible to ignore. Think about this. Words can be twisted. Arguments can be dismissed. Explanations can be mocked or forgotten. But silence leaves no escape. It leaves no easy defense. Instead, it forces the other person to fill in the blanks on their own, and often their imagination is far harsher than anything you could have said out loud. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics knew this truth deeply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." What does that mean for you? When you choose silence, you revoke your engagement in someone else's chaos. You refuse to feed their drama. You refuse to validate their behavior. You take the reins of your own mind and emotions back into your hands. That is Stoicism in action. The ability to step back, to detach, and to remain calm when the world wants to drag you into noise. The psychology of scarcity. And it's not just a philosophy. Modern psychology proves the overlook. Your presence becomes background noise. But when you remove yourself, when you step back and stop feeding endless availability, suddenly your presence becomes scarce, and scarcity breeds desire. The less they see you, the more they think of you. The less they hear from you, the more they miss you. Your absence transforms into the loudest presence in their life, flipping the dynamic. Now let's break it down with a simple example. When someone disrespects you, what's the typical reaction? Most people argue. They defend themselves. They beg or plead for the other person to see their worth. Well, what happens then? They hand over all their power. They give control of their emotions to the very person who disrespected them. But when you go silent, everything flips. Instead of you chasing their validation, suddenly they are left chasing yours. Your silence forces them to question themselves, to reflect on their actions, to confront the possibility that they misjudged you and now they may have lost you. The message silence sends. And here's where the magic lies. When you remain silent, you communicate strength. You send a clear message that you don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't even need their presence to feel whole. And that message, it's unforgettable. It echoes louder than any words you could ever speak. But let's be real, this isn't easy. It takes discipline. It takes patience. It takes an unshakable belief in your own worth. The Stoics had a word for this. Ataraxia, inner peace. It's the calm center that remains unshaken, no matter how strong the storm outside may rage. When you cultivate ataraxia, your silence becomes like a fortress, steady, impenetrable, and undeniably powerful. A reminder before we move on. So, before we continue, take a moment. Let this truth settle in your heart. Silence speaks louder than words because it forces the world to stop and listen. It's not emptiness, it's presence. It's not weakness, it's strength. And when you master this discipline, you become untouchable. We've already seen how silence itself speaks louder than any confrontation. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because silence doesn't just quiet the noise around you, it forces others to listen to themselves. So if this resonates with you, pause for a second and join me in declaring it. Drop a comment below right now. My silence is my strength. Let's commit to this truth together. And don't forget to like this video if you're finding value so far, because every small action you take here reinforces your decision to step into power. Number 2. The psychological effect of ghosting. Silence, when chosen with intention, does more than send a message. It creates a powerful ripple effect that no one can ignore. Ghosting used not as pettiness but as strategy taps into one of the deepest layers of human psychology, the fear of loss. Think about it. Humans are wired to notice things most once they're gone. It's called the scarcity principle, and it is one of the most compelling forces in all of psychology. When you remove yourself from someone's life, when you stop replying to their texts, when you no longer pick up their calls, when you simply stop entertaining their games, something shifts. Suddenly, they're staring into a void, a space where your presence, your energy, your attention used to be. And in that void, their mind starts racing. They replay every word, every argument, every interaction. They search for clues. Did I say something wrong? Did I push too far? Did they lose interest? Are they gone forever? The longer the silence lasts, the louder these questions become. And here lies the brilliance of ghosting. It turns the spotlight away from you and shines it squarely on them, while they spiral through their doubts, regrets, and insecurities. You are no longer handing them your energy. You're no longer dancing in their chaos. You've stepped out of their orbit, and now they are left alone to wrestle with themselves. Why this works? The scarcity principle. Modern psychology explains why this is so effective. The scarcity principle tells us that when something is taken away, it suddenly feels more valuable. Think about it in everyday life. When a product is labeled limited edition, what happens? Demand skyrockets. People rush to buy it, not because they truly need it, but because it's rare. Because it might not always be available. The same exact thing happens with people. When you're constantly available, always replying, instantly, always ready to engage, you become ordinary, predictable, easy to take for granted. But the moment you pull away, you transform. You go from accessible to unreachable, from ordinary to extraordinary. They start craving the very qualities they once ignored. They begin missing the very things they dismissed. The ego factor. But it goes even deeper. Ghosting doesn't just trigger the scarcity principle, it strikes at the ego. And nothing rattles the human ego more than unanswered questions. The internal dialogue becomes relentless. Why did they leave? Was it me? Did they find someone better? Were they playing me this whole time? That lack of closure gnaws at them. It eats away at their confidence, and the discomfort doesn't fade, it grows, because silence, unlike words, becomes a mirror. It reflects their insecurities, their mistakes, their choices, forcing them to confront truths they've been avoiding. The Stoic perspective. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't about cruelty, this isn't about revenge, this is about emotional detachment and self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is in your power to withdraw yourself whenever you desire. Perfect tranquility within consists in the good ordering of the mind." That's exactly what ghosting is when used with wisdom. It's the act of withdrawing, of choosing not to engage in chaos, of protecting your inner peace by saying, "I refuse to feed this with my time, my attention, or my emotion." Ghosting, then, isn't about punishing them. It's about prioritizing you. It's about choosing harmony over noise. It's about saying, "I'd rather protect my peace than fight for your attention." What happens next? And while they're busy replaying every scenario, wrestling with regret and questioning themselves, what are you doing? You're reclaiming your power. You're moving forward without explanation, without apology, without drama. You've shifted the dynamic completely. You're no longer the one chasing. You're no longer the one explaining. You're the one who walked away with calm confidence. And trust me, that leaves a lasting impact far greater than any words ever could. A call to claim your control. So, before we move on, I want you to remind yourself of this power. Take a deep breath and own it. Comment below. My silence is my control. Write it, declare it, let it sink in. And if this truth resonates with you, hit that like button. Not for me, but for you, as your way of stepping into strength, into discipline, into the calm authority that silence gives. Because up next, we'll explore something even deeper. How Stoic principles can help you control your emotions during this process so that silence isn't just an act, but a way of life. We've already seen how silence creates a psychological ripple effect. But here's the truth most men don't want to face. Ghosting only works if you have the emotional discipline to walk away and stay away. Because without control over your emotions, you risk breaking the silence. You risk giving in to impulses, reaching out, sending that late night text, or trying to explain yourself. And in doing so, you undo all the progress you've made. This is why Stoic philosophy becomes your greatest ally, the core of Stoicism. Mastering yourself. The Stoics believe that true power doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from controlling yourself, specifically from mastering your emotions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does this mean for you? It means that no matter what others say or do, no matter how they treat you, you hold the ultimate authority over how you react. And sometimes, the strongest reaction is no reaction at all. The cost of reactivity. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, undervalues you, or treats you as an afterthought, your first instinct might be to lash out, to defend yourself, to demand accountability. But what happens when you do? You hand over your power. You let them dictate your emotions. You let their behavior control your peace of mind. That is not strength. That is surrender. The Stoics remind us that the path to true freedom lies in emotional detachment. Epictetus put it plainly. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. By choosing silence, by ghosting, you are not just stepping away from a person, you're stepping away from the chaos they bring. You're declaring, "I will not let your actions disturb my peace." And that choice is a display of unshakable strength. Where Stoicism meets dark psychology, here's where things get powerful. When you stay silent, you're not just protecting your peace, you're also sending a message. Your silence says, "I'm in control. I don't need your validation. I don't need your attention. I don't need your approval. My worth is not determined by your behavior." That message is louder than any argument you could ever make. It's sharper than any comeback, and it lingers in their mind far longer than your words ever would. Because here's the paradox. The less you say, the more they think. The less you reveal, the more they question. And the less you react, the more powerful you become. The discipline of silence. But let's be honest, controlling your emotions is not easy. There will be moments when the urge is overwhelming, moments when you want to pick up the phone, to explain yourself, to chase closure. And in those moments, you need to remember this. Your silence is the ultimate test of your discipline. Every time you resist the urge to engage, you strengthen your emotional resilience. Every time you choose not to react, you prove to yourself and to them that you are above the chaos, that you cannot be pulled down into the storm. That is what makes you untouchable. How to stay disciplined. So how do you actually hold the line? The Stoics gave us a clear answer. Focus only on what you can control. You cannot control how someone feels about you. You cannot control what they think of you. You cannot control if they choose to respect you or not. But you can control one thing, your response. Shifting Because at the end of the day, that's the real prize. Not getting them back, not teaching them a lesson, but proving to yourself that you no longer need their validation to feel whole. A declaration of independence. So, let's make this personal. Right now, take a moment to affirm this principle. Head down to the comments and type, "I control my emotions, they don't control me." Let this be your declaration of independence from emotional chaos. Every time you say it, every time you write it, you carve it deeper into your identity. Because the moment you master your emotions, you master your life. And this mastery, this discipline, this strength, it changes everything. Up next, we'll explore exactly how reclaiming power through absence transforms not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Because when you finally learn to detach, you don't just walk away from the noise, you rise above it. Lesson 4. Reclaiming power through absence. Absence is not just about walking away. It is about reclaiming what was always yours, your power, your peace, and your self-respect. When you step back, you're not simply disappearing. You're making a bold declaration without uttering a word. I am no longer accessible to those who cannot see my worth. And that shift is transformational. Why absence matters. Here's the thing, when you're constantly present, you dilute your value. You become predictable. You're always there, always giving, always available. And in that constant presence, you unintentionally teach people to take you for granted. But the moment you step back, everything changes. You create a noticeable gap, and in that gap, a new dynamic begins to form. Your absence forces the other person to confront the reality of life without you. It is in that silence, in that void, where regret, longing, and reflection begin to take root. The psychology behind absence, scarcity, and boundaries. The power of absence is rooted in two timeless psychological principles: scarcity and boundaries. Scarcity. People value what they cannot easily have. Think about it. If something is always within reach, its value decreases. But the moment it becomes rare, suddenly it's precious. When you pull away, you become rare. You become something they can no longer take for granted. That's when the questions start creeping into their mind. Why did they leave? Did I do something wrong? How can I get them back? Your absence forces them to wrestle with the reality of what they've lost. And the more they feel that loss, the more your value rises in their eyes. Boundaries. Absence is also the ultimate act of setting a boundary. It is you saying, I will not stay in a space where I am not respected or appreciated. And here's the truth. People will always test your boundaries. They will try to pull you back. They may provoke you, guilt you, or attempt to make you second guess yourself. But every time you hold the line, every time you refuse to bend, you reinforce your power. You show them, and more importantly, you show yourself that your peace is non-negotiable. The Stoic foundation. This isn't just theory. The Stoics lived by this principle. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thought." What did he mean? That your mind takes shape according to what you allow it to focus on. If you constantly focus on the chaos of begin to transform. Reclaiming your power doesn't mean secretly hoping they'll come calling back. It doesn't mean sitting by the phone waiting for them to regret losing you. It means recognizing that you never needed them to validate you in the first place. Their reaction or their lack of reaction does not define your worth. What happens next? The act of stepping away is about rediscovering yourself. It is about rebuilding your confidence. It is about showing the world and yourself that you will never again settle for less than you deserve. And while they are stuck spinning in the spiral of regret and curiosity, you are leveling up. You're not waiting for them to notice your absence. You're using the silence to evolve, to strengthen, to rise. So that if they ever do see you again, they won't recognize the person you've become. That is true power. Claim your power. Before we move forward, take a moment to anchor this truth inside yourself. Scroll down to the comments and type, "I reclaim my power through absence." Make it your commitment. Let it be your line in the sand. A declaration that from this moment forward, you are done being overlooked. You are done being taken for granted. And you are ready to stand tall in your strength. And now, let's push deeper. Because this transformation is not only about you, it's also about the invisible storm your absence creates in their mind. This is where dark psychology comes into play. When you ghost someone, you're not just stepping out of their life, you're planting seeds of emotion that will grow in ways they cannot control. Guilt, curiosity, longing, even obsession. And the best part, all of this doesn't happen in your world. It happens entirely in theirs. That's the power of silence, amplified through absence. Lesson 5. Dark psychology. How they'll feel your absence. While you remain completely silent, something begins to stir on the other side. A storm is brewing inside the very person who once took you for granted. They may pretend they're fine. They may act unbothered. But silence has a way of speaking louder than words, and it leaves them no escape. The first to crack, guilt. When you disappear without warning, their mind instantly goes searching. They replay the last text, the last call, the last conversation, over and over like a broken record. Did I say something wrong? Was it the way I treated them? Did I push too far? They may never admit it out loud, but deep down, guilt begins to gnaw at them. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting every careless word, every moment of disrespect, every time they took you for granted. And guilt, once planted, is the first crack in their confidence. The endless spiral, curiosity. Once guilt takes root, curiosity soon follows. Humans are wired to crave closure, and when closure is denied, the mind goes into overdrive. They start asking themselves questions that only grow louder in the quiet. Why did they leave? Was it me? Are they with someone else now? The lack of answers creates a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. Their thoughts rush in to fill the space, spinning scenarios, building stories, inventing possibilities. And here's the beauty. The less information you give them, the more their mind obsesses. The less they know about you, the more valuable you suddenly become. Scarcity isn't just about your presence, it's about information. And your silence turns every missing detail into gold. The edge. Longing. Soon enough, guilt and curiosity transform into something even deeper, longing. They begin to notice all the little things they once overlooked. The way you laughed, the energy you carried into the room, the calm and stability you provided without even trying. Memory has a funny way of amplifying what's gone. Your absence doesn't just remind them of you, it magnifies you. The more silent you remain, the more those memories grow sharper, warmer, heavier. And with each passing day, the longing cuts deeper. But here's the twist. The more they long for you, the more they realize they can't have you. And that scarcity only intensifies their desire. The breaking point. Obsession. When guilt, curiosity, and longing build together, they create a powerful cocktail of emotion. It's a fire that cannot be ignored. Now, the very person who once dismissed you finds themselves caught in an endless loop thinking about you constantly, day and night. You've become the puzzle they can't solve, the void they can't fill, the unanswered question that refuses to leave their mind. And here's the most remarkable part. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't explain. You simply went silent. Your absence did all the work. The Stoic angle. From a Stoic perspective, this is the ultimate power move. Because it's not about revenge, it's about reclaiming your peace. Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In this case, you decided, I am someone who values myself enough to walk away, and then you did it. Your silence is not petty. It's disciplined, it's deliberate, it's a boundary carved in stone. A reminder that respect is not begged for, it's required. And when that boundary is crossed, you will not fight, you will not argue, you will not plead. You will simply step back and let them feel the weight of losing you. What dark psychology really does. Dark psychology teaches us this. Absence plants seeds of emotion that grow wild in the minds of others. Guilt eats at them. Curiosity keeps them awake at night. Longing softens even the coldest heart, and obsession locks their mind on you, unable to escape. All of it happens without you lifting a finger. And while they wrestle with their thoughts, you are focused on something far more important, yourself. You're growing, you're glowing, you're rebuilding your life in silence, in peace, in strength. And in doing so, you become someone who doesn't just command respect, you embody it. Claim your strength. If this resonates with you, take a moment right now to affirm it. Scroll down to the comments and write, my absence is my strength. Let this be your declaration, your reminder that silence is not weakness, it is control, it is power. It is the unshakable decision to value yourself above all else. Because in the end, ghosting is not about punishment, it is about growth. It is about letting go of those who fail to see your worth and choosing instead to build yourself into someone unstoppable. Now that we've uncovered how absence impacts them, the question becomes, what do you do while you're gone? Because the real transformation doesn't happen in their mind, it happens in yours. And that's where we're headed next. Lesson 6. What to do while you're gone. Ghosting someone is only half the strategy. The silence you create is powerful, but the real power lies in what you do with that silence. Because here's the truth. While they sit in the void you left behind, replaying every moment and questioning themselves, you have a choice. You can either waste that time looking back, or you can use it to transform yourself into someone they'll regret losing forever. This isn't just absence, it's opportunity. Step 1. Self-improvement. Ask yourself right now, what have you been putting off? Is it your fitness? That book you've been meaning to read? The skill you've been wanting to learn? The business idea that's been sitting in the back of your mind? This is your moment. This is your time to double down on your goals with relentless focus. Your absence from their life should not just create a void for them. It should create space for you. Space to grow. Space to evolve. Space to rise into the man or woman you were always meant to be. And when they eventually see you again, whether in person, through mutual friends, or even just a glimpse on social media, they should barely recognize the person you've become. Step 2. Mental and emotional glow up. The Stoics taught that true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So while they're lost in their confusion, you focus on your inner fortress. Let go of resentment. Release the urge to prove yourself. Train your mind to remain calm, composed, unshaken. Invest in your inner peace. Discipline your thoughts. Build the kind of unshakable confidence that cannot be ignored. Because here's the truth, outer strength will always fade if it's not rooted in inner strength. And once you cultivate both, you become unstoppable. Step 3. Physical presence. Let's be honest, people notice when you start to look better. So take care of your body. Hit the gym. Improve your diet. Refine your style. It's not about trying to impress them, it's about honoring yourself. Because when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you carry yourself differently. And that new energy, it doesn't go unnoticed. When they see you glowing, physically stronger, sharper, more alive, they'll ask themselves, how did they become even more incredible after leaving me? And that question alone is worth more than 1,000 words. Step 4. Social presence. Now, let's talk about the people around you. This isn't about flaunting your life on social media to make them jealous. That's petty, that's beneath you. This is about building real connections, expanding your network, meeting new people, investing in friendships that bring you energy instead of draining it. Let your absence from their life be a reminder that you're not standing still, you're moving forward. You're not just moving on, you're leveling up. Because nothing is more attractive than a man or woman who doesn't just exist for someone else's approval, but who thrives on their own terms. Step 5. Discipline in silence. And finally, the hardest part, stay silent. No matter how tempted you are, don't break the silence. Don't reach out to check on them. Don't reply when they try to provoke a reaction. Every time you hold the line, you reinforce your boundary. You remind both them and yourself that you no longer live for their approval. This is where true discipline lies. Because silence, when maintained with purpose, is not weakness, it is strength. The shift of power. Here's the beauty of this strategy. It was never about them. It's about you. Your absence isn't punishment for them. It's a gift to yourself. It's your chance to reclaim your energy, your goals, your growth, your peace. And when you commit to this transformation, you stop waiting for recognition. You stop chasing validation. You stop needing because you've already given yourself what you once sought from them. And that is where the real power lies. Affirm it. Take a moment right now to affirm this truth. Scroll down to the comments and write, "I glow up in silence." Let this be a reminder that while they are stuck wondering, you are rising. While they are replaying the past, you are building the future. Now, let's move to the next stage, because there's one thing almost guaranteed to happen when you disappear and grow stronger than ever. The inevitable come back. They will return. And when they do, the only question is, how will you handle it? Lesson 7. The inevitable comeback. Let's be real. If you've done the work, stayed disciplined, and walked away with silence, there's one thing you can almost count on. Sooner or later, they will come back. It won't always be dramatic. In fact, it usually starts small. Maybe it's a random text out of nowhere. Maybe it's a comment on your post, pretending to be casual. Or maybe it's a sudden, like on an old photo, something from months ago. Why do they do this? Because they are testing the waters. They are trying to see if the door they once took for granted is still cracked open. This is where your discipline is truly tested. Do you respond? Do you stay silent? Do you let them back in? Remember this. Their comeback isn't about them. It's about you. It's your moment to decide whether they still deserve a place in your life, or whether their chapter is already closed. Why they come back? To understand their return, we need to step into the realm of psychology. When you ghost someone with discipline, you become a mystery, and human beings are hardwired to chase what they cannot figure out. Dark psychology explains that the mind hates unfinished stories. Closure is like oxygen. When people don't get it, their brain keeps looping, searching, obsessing, trying to fill in the gaps. Your silence created a void, and in that void, they felt loss, they felt curiosity, they felt the sting of not knowing. That's what drives them back. But here's the key. You are no longer the same person they knew. The version of you they ignored, undervalued, or took for granted no longer exists. Through your silence, you've grown, you've transformed, you've elevated yourself to a place where their presence is no longer a necessity. How to handle their return. So what do you do when the inevitable message pops up on your phone? First, remember the Stoic principle. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Their return is outside of your control, but how you respond, or if you respond at all, is entirely yours. Don't let their reappearance shake your peace. Don't let it drag you back into the storm you work so hard to escape. If you choose to respond, do it from a place of strength, not emotion. Keep it short, keep it neutral, keep it rooted in boundaries. Something like, "I hope you're doing well. I've been focusing on myself and my goals." That's it. No long explanations. No attempts to prove yourself. No desperate energy. This response communicates one thing. You've moved on. You've grown. And you are no longer the person they left behind. If they're searching for closure, let your growth be the closure. If they're testing whether they can manipulate their way back in, let your boundaries stop them at the door. And if you choose not to respond at all, that's equally powerful. Silence is still your weapon. By refusing to engage, you reinforce your value and show that your peace is not up for negotiation. The most important truth most important thing to remember is this: their comeback does not validate you. You've already validated yourself. You proved your worth the moment you walked away, the moment you chose silence, the moment you grew stronger in their absence. Their return is not proof that you were finally enough. Their return is only a reflection of what they lost. So, when the inevitable comeback happens, handle it with grace. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Let your growth be the answer to every question they'll never ask out loud. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Stay focused on the path you've built for yourself. Call to action. Take a moment right now to affirm this truth. Scroll down and type: I rise above the past. Let this be your declaration of strength in the face of their return. Because when you rise above, you don't just survive the comeback, you transcend it. And now, we step into the hardest, most critical part of this entire strategy, the final test, empowering yourself to stay ghosted and remain in control. Because walking away is powerful, but staying away, that's where your true mastery is revealed. Lesson 8. Empowering yourself to stay ghosted. Here's the truth. Breaking the silence only hands the power back to them, and power, once reclaimed, is too precious to surrender.
The moment you reach out, you're sending a message. Your opinion of me still matters more than my peace. That is the opposite of strength. That is the opposite of control. The Stoics were crystal clear on this. Real freedom doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So staying ghosted isn't about being petty. It's not about revenge. It's about emotional mastery. It's about choosing peace over drama, self-respect over validation, and growth over stagnation. Every time you resist the urge to break the silence, you reinforce your independence. You prove to yourself you don't need them to feel whole. What's about closure? This is where But here's the harsh truth. Closure is not something someone else can give you. It's not found in their words. It's not hidden in their excuses. Closure is something you create for yourself. The moment you decided to walk away, the moment you chose silence, you gave yourself closure. You drew the line. You affirmed your worth. You don't need their validation to confirm that decision. You've already moved on. How to stay ghosted. So, how do you empower yourself to hold the line? Stay focused on your why. Remember why you left. Remember the boundaries you set, the self-respect you claimed, and the vision of the person you are becoming. Write it down if you have to, because when the temptation to break silence comes, those reminders will anchor you. Redirect your energy. Instead of obsessing over what they might be thinking, pour that energy into your goals, your passions, your future. Channel it into building the version of yourself who no longer needs anyone's approval. Your silence isn't just about them, it's about you. Surround yourself with support. Silence doesn't mean isolation. You are not alone. Lean on friends, mentors, or this very community to remind you of your worth. Let those who truly value you keep you grounded when the old urges return. Trust the process. Dark psychology and Stoic wisdom agree. Silence is a long game. The results may not come instantly, but they are profound. Each day you stay disciplined, you grow stronger. Each time you choose silence, you reclaim more of yourself, affirm your power. So, here's your declaration. Take a moment and write it in the comments. I am stronger in silence, because silence is not weakness. It is strength sharpened by discipline. It is peace protected by boundaries. It is the language of someone who knows their worth. The final reminder: ghosting isn't about running away. It's about stepping into who you were always meant to be. It's about reclaiming your power, protecting your peace, and prioritizing your growth. Let's recap. Your absence is your message. It speaks louder than arguments. Your silence creates scarcity, which breeds respect and desire. Your discipline turns rejection into transformation, and your self-mastery makes you untouchable. So, as you close this video, remember, your silence is not empty. It is full of strength, full of clarity, full of freedom. And one last thing, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so rich, so strong, so aligned with your purpose, that those who underestimated you are left staring at the space where you used to be, wishing they had valued you when they had the chance. That's true power. That's Stoic discipline. That's what it means to be unshakable. If this video spoke to you, drop your affirmation below. My silence is my power. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to The Stoic Art of Living, so you never miss the wisdom that keeps you grounded, disciplined, and free. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay stoic. And as always, stay blessed.